Marie Maguire was born on January 27, 1944 in Northern Ireland. She became an activist after losing several of her family members in an armed conflict between two military groups that spanned from 1976 to 1980. She was presented with the Nobel Peace Prize in 1976 along with several other notable accolades. Today, we embody the spirit of her nonviolent protest that she led in Northern Ireland that we use today in New York City.
It has become so excessive that you have had numerous amount of black people killed as a result of it. Do you understand what I'm saying? So when you're asking people about police brutality, people are quick to say, oh, there's nothing happening. That's not happening. Oh, just follow the laws. But when you have laws that are deliberately designed to go against a particular race of people, then there's a problem. Because every time there's going to be a clash between you constantly trying to keep the people oppressed and the people who are in place to keep these people in order. So you're asking me to stand up and be an obedient citizen when you deliberately design laws that are against me. So the result of these laws that are already against me is the so-called brutality. So essentially the cops are doing their job, but it's rooted in this fear, right? It's rooted in this culture that says black men in particular are threatening and are up to no good. So when you ask, what do you think of police brutality? Ask people deeper questions. You guys understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So all of that kind of comes from there.
An officer is someone who is supposed to protect us, the citizens, and yet we see ourselves fearing them. We are living in a time where the police can do as they pleased unpunished. They beat us, they kill us, they steal from us, and if we're smart, we let it happen. Nowadays, it's no longer safe to point out a cop in their wrongdoings, or we could become the next news headline. Now, I know it's not all the cops that participate in these acts, but there are way too many to blame. Honestly, I think some people just joined the force in order so they could avoid jail. This issue isn't only happening here. It's happening all over the world, and we must realize that. There have been many movements, protests, and even riots in an attempt to change this. Change is coming soon. We have already taken the right steps necessary to do so. All that's left is uniting as one and setting the final nail on the coffin.
Have they been protecting our communities?
No.
No. Have they been murdering our children?
Yes.
Have they been murdering our loved ones?
Yes.
Can you believe that we are still fighting?
Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. If there is an injustice on Staten Island, it's a threat to injustice everywhere. If there is injustice in our education system, it's a threat to justice everywhere. If there's an injustice in our employment rate between black and white men, it's a threat to justice everywhere. Voter registration is the reason Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King went to Selma to march. It's ironic that on Staten Island, where they killed my father there, two very political races that involved the man who looked over the grand jury, responsible for not finding the indictment, in the video captured homicide of my father, and now he wants to go and run for Congress? What happened? No way. No way.
Shut him down.
No way.
Shut him down.
Whoever played the part in this nightmare in my father's life needs to be held accountable. Example of a leader who will put themselves out in front, be willing to face death to stand on the principles of what's right. Happy birthday, Dr. Martin Luther King. You inspire me. I am proud to stand in your shadow today, fighting against injustice. Thank you. Thank you. And the Gardner family loves you all.
I feel like police brutality is a social issue because there are a lot of ways of thinking that are etched in stone now, because a lot of people's parents have taught their children these things since they were coming up. And now there's an idea that certain groups or certain ethnicities do certain things, or they act a certain way, or maybe they're more violent than others, or maybe they look different than others, so people are afraid of those other differences. They're not able to accept the fact that people are different. And if we accept the fact that people are different, there wouldn't be problems now like police brutality because my skin color is different than yours.